All right.
And Chair Baldacci, we're ready.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your hustling across the boardroom. I can see that. Good job. All right. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Sound Transit Board System Expansion Committee. It is November 13th, 2025. I am System Expansion Committee Chair Claudia Balducci. I want to welcome everyone who's in the meeting today, both in person and via Zoom. Just as a reminder for any board members beside myself joining by Zoom, I don't see any, so I'm going to skip that reminder because it's a reminder only to me. And I would also going to skip calling the roll, Alejandro, until we get somebody more. We'll continue on for reasons that will become obvious in a moment, and then we'll circle back before we get into any action items. For Chair's report today, let me just say that this meeting is at an unusual week in the month because we have the start of the holidays with Thanksgiving coming later in November. That pushes the board meeting forward each year and therefore pushes committee meetings forward each year. And we have our board retreat starting shortly after this meeting ends. So we have 1 hour to complete our business today, and that's it. It's a hard stop. So we're going to try to get through everything as expeditiously and efficiently as possible. And I appreciate everyone's cooperation in that regard. I will commit my own. I do tend to be the one who speaks a lot in these meetings, so you may hear less of that. With that, I would like to call on Callie Knight, our agency's CEO Chief of Staff, who will give the CEO report today. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Balducci and members of the committee. So I have a brief activation update for the committee today. We'll start with Federal Way Link Extension. So we're just weeks away from the December 6th opening of our Federal Way Link Extension. The ribbon cutting celebration starts at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday at Federal Way Downtown Station. And the first train is expected to depart for revenue service around 11 a.m. All 3 stations will host community festivities from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're very excited to celebrate in South County and look forward to celebrating alongside our board members and our partners and the folks who will be riding that system. And Eastlink testing. So the Eastlink team remains laser focused on progressing the systems integration testing on the I-90 floating bridge segment. Testing will continue throughout the month, and at the end of the month, train operators will practice interlining 1- and 2-line trains from the International District Chinatown Station to the Linwood City Center Station. Passengers won't be able to board these trains, but they will be able to get a preview of 4-minute peak service, which we're all very excited about. And this concludes the CEO report to System Expansion Committee, Madam Chair, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Chief of Staff Knight? I have one. Do you have any sense of when daytime testing will be starting on the bridge? Do we know yet?
Chair Balducci, I'm going to ask Michael Morgan, our Executive Project Director for the project, to come and talk more about that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So we are expecting the first or second week of December to start seeing trains on the bridge during the daytime. When there were earlier restrictions, we reorganized our testing program to focus at night. And so you still will see trains from 8 p.m. until 7 a.m. But the first trains on the bridge should be in the beginning of December during the daytime.
Thank you so much. I have to say, it's terribly exciting to drive across the bridge and see a train going back and forth. And I can't wait till people get to see it during the day. All right. Thank you. Anyone else? Let's move into public comment. The System Expansion Committee welcomes public comment as an important part of our process. Comments are received and considered by the committee in deliberations in writing and in person. Alejandro, would you please let us know what types and numbers of comments were received for today's meeting?
Chair Balducci, the committee has received a handful of written public comment. We have 3 individuals signed up here in the Ruth Fisher boardroom and 2 online for a total of 5 virtual public commenters, or 5 verbal public commenters.
Very good. All right. Would you start by summarizing, reading the names and summaries of those of the written comments, please?
From Linda O'Brien, requesting an immediate pause on tree removals related to the Lake Forest Park SR 522 Stride BT 306 design and transparent reevaluation of alternatives, and to put environmental priorities into action. From over 100 individuals submitting a form letter requesting that I-90 trail lights near Judkins Park be fixed, as they will aid in a positive experience for Judkins Park Light Rail Station opening. From Betty Lau, thanking the agency for improving light rail evacuation emergency plans for those with disabilities and guide dogs, but requesting the Community Accessibility Advisory Committee be treated equitably by providing detailed information shared at public meetings, answering questions, and including people with disabilities and with limited English in planning and decision-making processes. And from Vincent Sray, submitting a form letter urging the board to cease the planning for a new Ballard to downtown environmental impact statement.
There we go. Thank you for that. And just as a reminder, board members will have received written comments that were submitted before the meeting, and after the meeting, these will be placed on the website where the public can view them. All right, moving on to verbal public comment. Quick review of the ground rules. Each commenter will have 2 minutes to share their speech. All comments must be germane to the agenda items or items within the committee's purview. As a reminder, this is the System Expansion Committee, so anything having to do with expanding our transit system is within our purview. We ask speakers not to make introductory statements or derogatory remarks, profanity, or personal attacks not germane to an agenda item, statements related to a political campaign, or statements for or against a candidate or ballot measure. We ask that speakers not engage in conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. And if the rules are not followed, your microphone may be shut off or you may be asked to leave the meeting. So let's start with those folks who have signed up to speak here in the Ruth Fisher boardroom, or there, I should say, in the Ruth Fisher boardroom. Please go ahead.
Our 3 in-person commenters are Isabella Wolfhound, Matthew Lakidara, and Betty Lau.
Good afternoon, board committee. I'm Isabella Kennix Wolfhound, and I'm here to address the issue of current planning for the Link Light Rail system. So one of the issues that I hear time and time again about is the planned north-south station that would be closer to Stadium Station than here at the International District Chinatown neighborhood in downtown Seattle, which is going to do nothing but break the spine, possibly delay light rail construction, as that's a whole other can of worms in terms of environmental reviews, planning, construction, all of that, especially if the plan is to eventually have it go through Pioneer Square after north-south, which breaking the spine uncleanly at least. And honestly, same thing I can give with the plan for the second downtown tunnel, which again is going to delay any meaningful progress for Link Light Rail. Honestly, my suggestions, or I have 2, is A, keep the one line in the downtown tunnel, reduce frequency during off-peak times for all 3 lines to 15 minutes, which is still about 5 minutes in the tunnel, or 2, run the one line on street level through 4th and 5th Avenue, even if it means having to redo some of the infrastructure to account for lane. Honestly, build Link now, use what you have already. We do not need this extra stuff. Thank you.
Oh, you're next.
No, you go.
You're second.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Hello, I'm Betty Lau from the Zhonghua Benevolent Association and Citizens Accessibility Advisory Committee, HAC. Thank you for the emergency evacuation plan for those with mobility issues, but more improvement is needed. In the Ballard and West Seattle presentation on October 7, we were given 3rd grade level information. Details provided at Sound Transit open houses were absent, as were maps, drawings, and diagrams to enhance our understanding. Questions were met with silence. CAC members asked presenters, why is one station called Midtown when it's not in Midtown? How many transfers are there and what are the walk times? How will you help those with disabilities who have limited or no English during emergencies? Next, meetings are every other month, leading to a glacial flow of information to us and slowing down the feedback we can provide. Meetings must be monthly to be on par and equitable with other sound transit committees. And we still want meeting minutes. We want an accessibility culminating report to the Community Oversight Panel for Inclusion in their annual report. Finally, King County Executive-elect Zahalai pledged that efforts will continue to prioritize serving riders who depend on sound transit services, including seniors, people with disabilities, Title VI protected populations, race, color, national origin, low income, and limited English proficient populations. A forethought, not afterthought. And finally, we want a 90-day comment period. Thank you.
Recently, there's been much discussion about the single tunnel approach to constructing light rail between West Seattle and Ballard. But this discussion has been framed as a binary decision between boring a new tunnel through downtown or getting by with improvements to an existing one. Sound Transit must not be constrained by this apparent binary choice. In September, I emailed the Sound Transit Board a proposal for repurposing a stretch of Interstate 5 into a rail corridor, creating what was functionally a second downtown tunnel while subtracting the cost and disruption of tunneling through Seattle's densest areas. This, alongside smaller projects, would accomplish most of the goals of ST3 while offering better regional connectivity than the current preferred alternative and more resilience than a single tunnel solution. I ask that this committee ensure that Sound Transit and its partners in the area study this proposal's approach so that tomorrow's transit riders may realize the full promise of ST3. Thank you very much.
And Madam Chair, that's everybody in the boardroom.
All right, thank you all for being there today and for your comment. Now we're going to turn to comment via Zoom. When your name is called, if you are online on Zoom, please identify yourself using the raise hand function in Zoom so that staff can send a prompt to unmute. You can then be heard. You will be instructed how to unmute yourself in order to give your comment. Please go ahead, Alejandro, and start calling on folks online.
Our first virtual public commenter is Joe Kunzler.
Oh, thank you
Please
for
go ahead.
having. Thank you. And thank you, Alejandro, for calling on me first. I'm deeply sad that Claudia Badass Uchi was not elected executive. And hopefully instead will be the Sound Transit Board chair now and forever. Because she's done such great work. We should absolutely rename the 2 line the Badass Uchi line. And then we should also rename the East Main station, which doesn't tell me anything. This committee should be tasked to figure out how much it would cost to rename it the Badass Uchi station. Moving along, I really badly think that this committee needs to build the damn trains and look at a burning process outside that dumpster and just build, because we need sexy light rail to Everett. We need sexy light rail to Tacoma. We need to make it easy to get to city council meetings at the end of the 2 line and cheer on the Vanessa Kritzer. Okay, board member Birdie as well. But we badly need light rail, and we really need to just. And I'm sorry for the stutter. As you can hear, everybody sometimes gets a little nervous when you talk to South Transit, because South Transit is America's best transit agency, and the only transit agency that does better is TransLink in British Columbia. But moving along with 34 seconds left, I really badly think we should rename the trains after all our heroes, and after all, not just after after all the people who helped make transit possible. We need to teach people how important transit is, and we really badly need to pay tribute to Claudia Badass Uchi, who stooped throughout Alex River, who made sure that light rail got to the east side so you could ride it to city council meetings. And also, as always, 4 seconds ago, go Sound Transit, fix what you do. We're gonna.
And Chair Balducci, our final commenter today is Gordon Blueshell. Please go ahead.
I'm Gordon Blueshaw. I'm with Access Laser, and we are located on the site of the SWIA station. If it goes through at the current station, we would be needing to move once the property was acquired. We are a high-tech business involved in many different areas, but it's provides jobs for a lot of people who are along the Sound Transit corridor. Many people are in the Casino Road area. So moving for us would cause hardship, and it would be very disruptive to our business. I think the primary, although we prefer to see Site B be the Southwest Industrial Area site, I think the alternative, since we understand that there's good reasons why the A site is preferred, would be to move back to the 2023 site plan and design. That's a much smaller one. It'll be less expensive for Sound Transit at a time you're trying to save money, as well as you would reduce the amount of property that you would need to acquire by two sites. So it would also allow us to continue to be here. And so that's my input. Thank you very much for your time.
And Madam Chair, there's everyone who has signed up for public comment.
Thank you very much, everyone who came online as well as those who were in person. We appreciate you and take your comments into account. All right, so we have 6 items on the agenda today, all for action today, all for committee final action, and we have got 41 plus minutes to do it. So here we go. It's a new kind of challenge, starting with item 6.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can we take roll before we do any business items?
That would be appropriate. Please go ahead.
Nancy Backus.
Here.
Board Member Backus is present. Angela Burney.
Here.
Board Member Burney is present. Cassie Franklin. Bruce Harrell. Ryan Mello. Kim Roscoe.
Here.
Board Member Roscoe is present. Dave Summers.
Here.
Board Member Summers is present. Dan Strauss. Claudia Balducci.
Here.
And Madam Chair, there is a quorum of the committee present at this time.
Very good. Thank you for reminding me. And we can now turn to action and do it legally. So next we have the minutes of our September 11th System Expansion Committee meeting. They were included in the packet. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Madam Chair, this is Board Member Backus. I move to approve the minutes. This is Bernie. I'll second.
Thank you for the motion and the second. Any comments, questions, or changes on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of approvals, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Minutes are approved. All right, our next item is a motion regarding the system expansion. Regarding the System Expansion Committee portions of the 2026 budget. And we have Ryan Fisher, our Finance Executive Director, to begin the presentation. Please do introduce other members of your team as you go. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Balducci and other members of the System Expansion Committee. Joining me today is Stephanie Ball, Director of Financial Planning and Analysis. Next slide, please. So today we're here to provide information on the proposed 2026 budget and request that the System Expansion Committee recommend the portion of the overall agency budget within their purview along to the Finance and Audit Committee. Specifically, we will look at budgets within the System Expansion Committee's purview. This includes the system expansion budgets for modes, including Link, Tacoma Link, Sounder, Regional Express, and Stride, as well as the indirect costs associated with system expansion. Next slide, please. So the System Expansion Committee is responsible for recommending the portions of the budget I mentioned and highlighted here in the magenta box. The Finance and Audit Committee is responsible for recommending the overall budget to the board once the other committees have reviewed and recommended budgets under their purview to the Finance and Audit Committee. Next slide, please. So next we'll go over the 26 annual budget. Next slide. So it's really quick here. The total uses for 26 budget are projected at $3.5 billion. of which the system expansion portion will cover today there with the right arrow is 1.9 billion. The remainder of the budgets have been covered in the boardroom and in more details in the other individual committees mentioned earlier. So today we'll focus on the area there for system expansion. Next slide, please. Now I'll pass it off to Stephanie Ball to go into more details on the system expansion proposed budget.
Thank you, Ryan, and good afternoon, board members. So the proposed 2026 annual budget for modal system expansion projects is 1.9 billion. Link represents the largest of this total at 49%, but this year has decreased from last year, continuing a trend of decreasing Link spending due to projects in construction reaching revenue service. The next largest mode is Stride, where all three major Stride projects are in construction, followed by Sounder, Tacoma Link, and SD Express. And then indirect costs associated with system expansion are also included in this pie chart. So next, I'm going to highlight projects with the largest 2026 budgets by category. Next slide, please. So this describes major activities and 2026 priorities for Link projects and planning. So please note that for these Link projects and planning, these funds have already been approved by the board, and here we are highlighting what is to be spent next year. This work is needed to keep projects shovel-ready and does not impact agency affordability. First, Ballard Link Extension has the largest annual budget in this category. This project will publish the final environmental impact statement, complete preliminary engineering, and then move to final design. The next largest is the Operations and Maintenance Facility South project, which is planning to start final design, acquire remaining right-of-way, and commence early works construction. West Seattle Link will continue identification of cost savings opportunity. And lastly, Everett Link Extension will complete Phase 2 preliminary engineering, begin Phase 3, and evaluate potential early property acquisitions. Next slide, please. So this slide describes major activities in 2026 for Link projects in construction or those that are already in service. Federal Way Link will conclude closeout activities and follow-on work, including noise mitigations and signage. East Link will reach substantial completion of civil and systems work. The project will continue startup work and pre-revenue testing before opening to the public in 2026. The Series 2 light rail vehicle project will have final acceptance for the 152 car order and continue assembly of the additional 10 car order. Lastly, Pinehurst Infill Station will complete construction to also reach revenue service in 2026. Next slide, please. So here we're highlighting our Stride projects. I-405 BRT, SR522 BRT, and the BRT maintenance base are continuing with construction. And a few more specifics, the I-405 BRT project will continue construction work on WashDOT delivered projects, as well as begin construction of the South Renton and Burien Transit Centers, while SR522 BRT will continue construction at Shoreline, University of Washington Bothell, and the Northeast 185th improvements in Bothell, as well as start construction on the Kenmore to Bothell and Seattle to Shoreline segments. Next slide, please. So lastly, I'll highlight Sounder. Here, the largest annual budget is the Sumner, Ken, and Auburn Parking and Access Improvements Project. The Sumner station will reach substantial completion in 2026, while Ken and Auburn will progress towards this milestone. Next slide, please. So now I will speak to our Transit Improvement Plan, or TIP. And so as a reminder, the TIP includes the lifetime authorized allocations or multi-year budgets for all active projects, as opposed to highlighting just the 2026 slice, which I just did. Next slide, please. So this slide walks through the 2025 adopted TIP to the proposed 2026 TIP. In total, this is a proposed increase of $269 million from the 2025 adopted TIP. Two projects will close in 2026, the First Hill Streetcar and the Puyallup Station Parking and Access Improvements Project, which will lower the TIP by $215 million. Additionally, there is a $483 million increase for existing projects. The bulk of this is an increase to the indirect costs associated with system expansion projects, which is a new category we are reporting on post-most. So now I'll turn it back over to Ryan to go over next steps.
Thank you, Stephanie. Next slide, please. So we'll close out here with the overview of where we've come from and where we're headed to next. Here we are at the System Expansion Committee, where we would request that the System Expansion Committee recommend the portion of the budget within their purview to the Finance and Audit Committee. Next week, we would go to the Finance and Audit Committee and request that they recommend the overall budget to the board for adoption later that afternoon on November 20th. Next slide, please. That concludes our presentation. We're happy to answer any questions committee members may have.
All right, thank you very much. Let me open it up for committee members' comments or questions. Anyone?
Chair, this is Roscoe.
Thank you. And thank you for taking the leadership. Just speak out because I cannot see you all. Please go ahead.
No problem. I just wanted to thank staff for such a clear presentation with there being consistency between the slides on the information that you shared from mode to mode to mode location. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's super helpful when you can track that way. Thank you. Anyone else? Other members with questions? So I just always feel it's important to say in this moment, because we're all used to back at our home jurisdictions, a budget process that starts several months before adoption, that, is this kind of grind through line items and, amendments and, working all the way to a final vote. It is this massive undertaking. And here at Sound Transit, we get a briefing and then we vote. And so I have to say, I think that there's a balance to be struck. And the reason for that is especially in system expansion, the projects are multi-year budgets with long, different phases to them that we work through in the course of our work throughout every year. The annual budget is a slice of that we update each year, and then as needed, we can pull money forward. We can do things differently by budget amendment, which we do. Almost every year we have budget amendments because that's sort of the way we operate. I do think that there's a balance between how much effort and public discussion we have about the annual budgets and this reality that it is not the biggest driver of what we do. The project budgets are far more of a driver. And I will say this one is particularly truncated because here we are with a meeting where we have got only an hour to do 6 items and this gets shoved in. And so let's try to find a way to be a little bit more routine. Like, it would be great to get the first briefing the month before, have time to absorb it and then vote it out. And I know that it goes through 2 committees. I'm aware that we also go to the Finance and Audit Committee. So there's a second set of committee eyes. But it's just always something I struggle with every year that I've been on the board. But I think we are ready, if there are no more questions or comments, to pass this item on to the Fiscal and Audit Committee for their work so we can keep on track. And I would entertain a motion to do so. It would be a motion to approve motion M 2025-57.
Madam Chair, this is Backus. Do we need it read into the record first?
Probably, yes. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not on my game here today. Alejandro, would you kindly read the item into the record?
Motion number M 2025-57 is a motion of the System Expansion Committee of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority recommending that the portions of the proposed 2026 budget and transit improvement plan reviewed by the System Expansion Committee be forwarded by the Finance and Audit Committee to the board with a due pass recommendation.
All right. Now that it is before us, please go ahead, Board Member Backus.
Thank you. I move to approve motion number M 2025-57.
And this is Board Member Burney. I will second.
Thank you for the motion and second. Any final comments? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The motion is adopted unanimously. All right, this leads us to item 6C, and I'd like to call on Manan Garg, Capital Delivery Executive Director, for the staff presentation. This is a construction contract for Stride BRT. I will ask Executive Director Garg to introduce additional presenters. Please go ahead. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Madam Vice Chair and the SEC Committee. My name is Manan Garg. With me today is Rick Kapka, Executive Project Director for the Stride program. Next slide, please. We are here to seek your due pass recommendation to award the construction project for Seattle Shoreline Roadway and Station improvements under the motion 2025-58. Next slide, please. As a gentle reminder, the Stride program was baselined in 2021 into 4 primary projects comprising of 12 sub-projects listed here. We have now 7 projects in active construction, and the item before you for today's action is shown in the green. In the spirit of the upcoming holidays, I do want to take a moment and offer Our sincere thanks to SEC for your leadership and guidance, to WashDOT for their continued collaboration, to our contracting partners, AGC and ACAC for their ongoing support. Most importantly, I want to recognize our STRIDE team and the many ST departments that are making this possible, which includes procurement, legal, CRE, GCR, and service delivery, to name a few. As we look ahead to 2026, we are focused on maintaining the budget and schedule stability across the STRIDE program and plan to bring all 45 miles serving 11 jurisdictions into 100% construction by middle of next year. With that, I'll pass it on to Rick Kapka.
All right. Thank you, Manan. Good afternoon, Chair Balducci and members of the committee. Next slide, please. And next slide, please. Okay, as Manan introduced, we're here seeking the committee's approval to execute a construction contract for the Seattle Shoreline Roadway and Stations portion of the future STRIDE S3 service line. This action is fully funded within the baseline project from several years ago, and it is included in the agency's long-range financial plan. Next slide, please. So this slide summarizes the scope of work that will be included in this construction contract. I'm just going to note a few of these in the interest of time. We will be constructing at and below grade elements for a total of 4 STRIDE BRT station platforms, 2 in the eastbound direction, 2 in the westbound direction along Northeast 145th Street. We'll be putting in transit signal priority equipment as well as queue bypass lanes to facilitate the more efficient movement of our buses through key intersections. And then lastly, I'll note we are going to be putting in updated sidewalks within the footprint of our work, and that will be for enhanced pedestrian safety and for better access to our stations. Next slide, please. Okay, this slide summarizes the schedule and budget for this particular contract. We have a budget of $41.5 million. And I'm really happy to say we received a high level of interest in this project. We got 7 bids. That's the most I've seen since I've been at the agency. All of those bids were below the engineer's estimate and within the budget. We are requesting the committee's approval to allocate $31.4 million, which includes a 15% contingency. And with regards to schedule, we are on target to complete this work within the planned timeframe for the opening of the S3 service line in Q2 of 2028. And then lastly, I want to point out the map here of the S3 alignment. The section that we're talking about today is the section highlighted in red. Okay, next slide, please. All right, in summary, we request your approval to execute a construction contract with Pavetta Brothers Construction for a total authorized amount not to exceed $31,438,786 for the Seattle Shoreline Roadway and Stations portion of the future STRIDE S3 service line. This concludes our presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you so much for that presentation. Committee members, any comments or questions?
Madam Chair, this is Backus.
Please go ahead, Board Member Backus.
Thank you. So I'm very excited by having 7 bids and all of them below the estimate. Any ideas what's causing that lower than expected amount?
Yeah, I would say a few things. Number one, I think the contracting community right now is really interested in our work. The number of bidders would indicate a strong level of interest. And as part of that process, folks really do sharpen their pencils a bit when they're putting in their best price. So that's probably a big contributing factor.
At Board Member Backus, I'll just quickly add, we have been doing extensive outreach with AGC and other industry partners, becoming an owner of choice. I think that is also bringing in a little bit of more confidence to work with us in the future.
Thank you very much.
Chair, this is Roscoe.
Please go ahead, Board Member Roscoe.
Staff, just a point of clarity on slide 7 where it shows the sections that we're talking about. We are in fact talking about the purple section that includes Lake Forest Park, correct? There's the 5 stations.
No, we are the red section, or maybe it's kind of pink.
Okay.
Yeah. The purple section is the Lake Forest Park contract. That is a future construction contract that has not yet been brought before the board.
Okay. And then on our proposed action, it does indicate that it will authorize contract to construct, and it lists some things, and it says, and the city of Lake Forest Park along Northeast 145th.
Yes.
1.4, is that's still within this pink segment?
Yes, we make reference to Lake Forest Park in the staff report specifically because there is a single property that is involved with this particular contract that falls within Lake Forest Park, just one property.
And is that one property within this 1.4 mile segment?
Yes, it's right at the intersection of Northeast 145th Street and SR 522.
Okay, thank you. And before we have future action on this at SEC, which would be before the board sees it in 2026, I just wanted to remind staff, I asked this during the briefing, that we are provided information about the process. We're getting a lot of stakeholder outreach, specifically from Lake Forest Park, including an email today, I think that most of us received. So just want to make sure that as the committee and the board come to do action on that portion of the BRT, that we are transparent about the process we went through to get there. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Madam Vice Chair, and we will do the sub-area briefings as you have requested.
Any other questions? You know, at some point in the future, I would really appreciate a refresher on how we break up our contracts into segments. I'm sure there are lots of reasons for how we break them up. And it's just interesting to see one like this that has got a single property in one jurisdiction. There's got to be a reason. Maybe it's weirdness around how borders are drawn versus how our contracts are drawn. But just someday I'm going to satisfy my curiosity on this question. Not today, though. Today we have no time for it. All right. Any further questions from board members? If not, hearing none, Alejandro, would you please read this item into the record?
Item 6C is motion number M 2025-58, a motion of the System Expansion Committee of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority, authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to execute a contract with Pavetta Brothers Construction, Inc. for construction services for the Stride Seattle Shoreline Roadway and Stations improvements, components of the Stride Bus Rapid Transit SR 522 / Northeast 145th Street project in the amount of $27,338,075 with a 15% contingency of $4,100,711 for a total authorized contract amount not to exceed $31,438,786.
All right, thank you. And just before I call for the vote, let me second the comment about how heartening it is to hear about an increased number of bidders and the competitiveness of the bids. That's a really good sign that our work is paying off, and I really want to appreciate all the staff in the capital section for all and procurement for all your work, because that's down to a lot of good partnering and focus. So thank you. With that, the motion. Is there a motion? There's not a motion. Is there a motion to approve? In a second, please.
Madam Chair, this is Backus. Move to approve M 2025-58.
And this is Bernie. I'll second.
All right, it is before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Motion is approved. All right, this brings us to item 6D, and we're going to have a motion M 2025-59 regarding 3 job order contracts for construction services. I'd like to welcome Amanda Lanier, Design and Construction Contracts Director, to give us the staff presentation. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, committee members and Madam Chair Balducci. My name is Amanda Lanier. As you said, I'm the Director of Design and Construction Contracts within the Procurement Contracts and Agreements Division, and I'm thrilled that we got this agenda item, these 3 today, and I will go quickly. Next slide, please. I'm here to request approval of your next three motions, agenda items to execute 3 separate job order contracts for construction services for 2 base years, plus an option to extend for an additional year. The contracts not to exceed amount for the full 3 years will be $12 million. Next slide, please. Sound Transit has been using job order contracting, or JOC, since 2013. It's an on-call type of construction contract for small jobs valued under $500,000 for repair, renovation, and new construction projects utilizing a single competitively awarded contract. JOC is a valuable tool for direct access to small and disadvantages because the statute requires 90% of the work be subcontracted. The work orders under this contract are ideal opportunities for participation by small and disadvantaged business, consistent with Sound Transit strategic goals. Vice Chair requested work order examples at the pre-briefing, so you should have report handouts for work orders on our last 3 contracts. An example is shown on this presentation for electrical and waterproofing improvements at the Northgate parking garage. And then for future work orders for these 3 new contracts, we've got at least 3 FIFA World Cup work orders for DSTT lighting upgrade, a Phase 8 LED lighting, and DSTT architectural improvements are some examples of what we'll be using this for soon. Next slide, please. And a reminder that this is not a low bid construction award. In fact, this is an alternative public works method authorized by RCW Chapter 39, where we use a best value selection process, which evaluates both qualifications and price. Sound Transit received 6 statement of qualifications in response to our solicitation, and we shortlisted to the 4 finalists to submit their coefficient pricing. This solicitation reserved the right to award up to 3 contracts, and so we recommend award to the top 3 scorers. Next slide, please. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions? I kind of missed, and I apologize for this, the part where you laid out like how these 3 were, like how did they rise to the top? I heard the part about sort of generally speaking, we have this mixed sort of assessment, so it's not strictly lowest bid, it's bid plus it's some kind of a value metric. Can you just say, I don't understand.
Yes.
If somebody asked me, why did I vote to select these 3, which I don't know their names, versus any of the others, and I don't know their names, based on a contract, I could not answer that question right now yet.
Okay. Let me elaborate by saying that we call this a 2-step selection process. And the step 1, and this is common on design build and GCCM also, where step 1 is a qualifications review. So no pricing details. We're just evaluating on experience, past performance, and small business achievements and things of those qualitative natures. We score or evaluate, then score those and establish the competitive range. And in this case, there were 4 above the competitive range that had a chance at winning the 3 contracts. So we invited these 4 to receive what's called the request for price or an RFP, the pricing details. And in the case of JOC, that's a coefficient markup. It's basically a percentage markup that gets added to RS. JOC is priced by the RS Means price book. And so it's a pretty fast process just to receive their coefficient markup. And I don't remember what all 4 were off the top of my head, but they were competitive and in line with our past coefficient pricing. So we call that a best value process, where it's a combination of price and qualifications. And price in this case was about 25% of the scoring. And so qualifications were the 75%. Does that answer your question?
Sort of. I mean, generically, yes. Like I understand that there's a process, but we're not getting information about the who applied. Like, I mean, I always understood that JOC was another means of just having a list of contractors that we could pull from. This is my understanding of JOC has been that you have got pre-screened people and then they get they get jobs based on some ordering. And what I'm hearing today just sounds really different from anything I've ever heard before.
I think you're correct. I think it's both my response and these are, all of our work is ordered off of work orders. So we can't compete them against each other. We typically start with one, ask for a pricing proposal when we have a work order example come up. And as long as their pricing is fair and reasonable and we're able to negotiate a final work order amount, then they're awarded the work. And you can see in your reports that we try to spread it around. Some contractors are stronger than others at certain scopes, but they all get used.
Do we ever look back and see whether we are meeting WIMBY goals, apprenticeship goals, any of with this method?
Great question. We do track, Mr. Edson is here from our Economic Development Division. And you would like to speak to that?
Yes. So Edson Zavala, Deputy Executive Director of Economic Development. So all the job order contracts will be tracked through the life of the contracts. Oh, there we go. Edson Zavala, Deputy Executive Director of Economic Development. Just to repeat, all of the job order contract awards will be tracked through the life of those contracts. All work authorizations will be tracked month to month. All subcontractor commitments will be monitored as well to ensure prompt payment and progress towards any small business goals.
How will that report be conveyed to the committee or the board?
We're happy to make those available upon request.
Callie, can I ask you to please make sure that there's some routine way that we get these kinds of oversight contracting reports as opposed to having to remember and ask in the future?
Yes, Madam Chair, happy to do so. I appreciate the question.
And then what are these contracts for? The contracts say that they are for job order contracting construction services. What are we contracting these people to do?
Small and discrete projects. We tried to describe it in the staff report. So small, discrete infrastructure and facilities projects, repair, those kinds of things. There's some examples, right, on your, I think the report details the work description and the title to give you an example of some of the things we use them for.
Thank you. That's super helpful. I can look back at the written reports. Not to bore everybody, but IT security is getting smarter all the time, and I have been very effectively screened out from looking at any of the material because I don't have the right connection. All right, I will make sure I do that. All right, that's it. I think all my questions have been answered, and all three of our remaining action items are these 3 job order contracts, one at a time. Is it possible to take them all up together, Alejandro?
Madam Chair, I would recommend that a motion is made to consider them together before just doing it. But yes, you can bundle them together.
Let me just say 2 motions rather than 3 motions doesn't seem like the juice is worth the squeeze. So let's just do them in order, starting with item 6D. Would you please read that into the record?
Of course. Item 6D is motion number M 2025-59, a motion of the System Expansion Committee of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority, authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to execute a 2-year contract plus a 1-year option to extend with Centennial Contractors Enterprises, Inc. to perform job order contracting construction services for a cumulative total authorized contract amount not to exceed $12 million plus applicable taxes, subject to restrictions in resolution number R 2021-05.
All right, that item is ready for a motion. If there is a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, this is Backus. I move to approve M 2025-59.
And this is Bernie. I will second.
Thank you. It is before us. Any final comments? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, moving on to item 6E. Alejandro, would you please read that item into the record?
Motion number M 2025-60 is a motion of the System Expansion Committee of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority, authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to execute a 2-year contract plus a 1-year option to extend with Forma Construction Company to perform job order contract and construction services for a cumulative total authorized contract amount not to exceed $12 million plus applicable taxes, subject to restrictions in resolution number R 2021-05.
All right. Is there a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, this is Backus. Move to approve M 2025-60.
And this is Bernie. I will second.
Thank you again. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. That motion is approved. And our final action for today, Alejandro, please read item 6F into the record.
Motion number M 2025-61 is a motion of the System Expansion Committee of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority, authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to execute a 2-year contract plus a 1-year option to extend with GLY Construction, Inc. to perform job order contract and construction services for a cumulative total authorized contract amount not to exceed $12 million plus applicable taxes, subject to restrictions in resolution number R 2021-05.
Okay. Final one. Is there a
Madam
motion
Chair.
to approve? Yes, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, move to approve motion number M 2025-61.
And I will second.
Thank you so much. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. That motion also carries unanimously. This brings us to the end of our action items. We have no reports today, no executive session. Does anyone have any other business to come before the committee today? All right, hearing none, I want to thank the Sound Transit staff and leadership. This was a highly negotiated agenda so that we got a lot done in a very short period of time, but we didn't get everything that was hoped for. And we're going to have some big items, I believe, on our December meeting as a result. Look forward to meeting with you all then. The next meeting will be on Thursday, December 11th from 1:30 to 4. It will take place in the Ruth Fisher Boardroom as well as virtually via Zoom. The link to the virtual meeting will be provided on the Sound Transit website. And with that, thank you all very much for your attention and swift action today. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.